G'day everyone, welcome to the next installment in the hero review video series that I've been doing. This time around we are focusing in on the November 2021 Hero of the Month, which is Montana. We are back towards a bit more of a normal schedule when it comes to these Hero of the Month review videos. I do apologise once again for the tardiness last month. It was, if we were following that schedule, we probably still wouldn't have this video for another week and a half, almost 2 weeks time. So yeah, I do apologise for that. As is the case with all these videos, please do swing the video itself, like if you find the content in the video to be helpful and useful, and share it around as well. It is here to be shared and to be viewed, so if you find it helpful, do share it around with whoever you think might be helped by it. Also, if you haven't already done so, please do feel free to swing my channel a subscribe, so that you can get quick, easy notification access to any new content I put up. Plus, it also does go towards the YouTube algorithm, which does help promoting my content towards other players so that it can get pushed out to more people and be helpful to more people. So I do appreciate any help that anyone can give me in that regard. But with all of that self-promotion over and done with, we can return to the actual content of this video, which is reviewing the hero Montana. I will say that I am very aware of the fact that this hero has two distinct pronunciations it could follow. There is the one that I will be using, which is Montana, but there is the equally viable option, which is Montana, or Montana, depending on how bogan you want to be about it. I will be using Montana as the pronunciation for me. I'm just most comfortable with that. It's how I read it in my head. But I do know that people can and will read it and pronounce it as Montana. So apologies if you think I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm not, you are, so tough. Anyway, Montana herself, she is a 5-star support class hero with the title of a Curious Explorer. If we bring up her zoomed image or the full graphic of her, we can see that there are some fairly obvious throws towards that quintessential explorer trope, which was made famous by Indiana Jones. They've even included the whole archaeologist bag and the whip of all things. The only thing she's really missing is Indy's famous hat. So, you know, she's also, in terms of weaponry, she's really only got a small pea-shooter size revolver, which seems very out of place given some of the other weapons we've seen in game so far. And I find it actually quite hilarious to see her fighting off against a, say, one of our mechanoid friends like Ridge, who's got cannons for arms, when all she's got is that little itty-bitty revolver pea-shooter. But you know, I can't see that revolver or her whip being overly effective in a modern warfare style environment, but, you know, there are zombies, so who really cares about realistic? So, I've also been passed along Montana's special skill animation, so we will pull that up and have a look at it if you aren't already aware of it. This video was provided to me by a fellow player by the name of Mudder Joe, or Mortar Joe, from the Alliance Special Task Force, so big thanks for passing this vid along, but here is her animation. Alright, there you have it. So, it's got all of the bits and pieces that you'd expect from a whiplash or whip crack wielding hero. So you've got the whip and stealing, of all things, a trophy, which is obviously an explorer's dream treasure to find, is a trophy. But yeah, thanks again, Mudder Joe, for passing that one along. If we return back to her hero card, we can start breaking down Montana in terms of her base stats and all of those things. So if we look at her stats, we can see that she's got 695 attack, she's got 686 defense, and 1,388 HP. So overall with those stats, she's fairly middle of the road. There is some slight skewing towards her attack stat. But both of her attack and her defense stats, they're around the 30% mark in relation to all other heroes. It's 35 and 33% respectively. Her HP stat, though, is actually quite low. It's been dropped down towards the bottom 40%. So there's a little bit of skewing, but not much, because it's not really your traditional defense and HP skewing. It's just one or the other in this case. So in terms of her special skill speed, we can see that she has been given a speed of 58, which puts her just into the 9 tiles to charge bracket of fast. She's only barely just over the line in that regards, which means that you will need to get a +7 speed weapon or +6 weapon and a class node in order to drop her down to the 8 tiles to charge. Unfortunately, in green, as it is right at the moment, there is only one speed gun available in total, which is a past weapon of the month, specifically the Relic Hunter Bargo. Even more unfortunate is that this particular weapon only gives a maximum of +6 speed increase. So in order to mana break or charge break Montana, you are going to need to give her a max promotion Relic Hunter and get her to +20 emblems in order to do it. So for all intents and purposes, as of right now in November 2021, there's not really an efficient method of charge breaking her down to 8 tiles. You'd be better off putting a different weapon on her realistically. As I mentioned before, she is a member of the support class, which gives her the chance to resist ailments that may come her way. Support class has some very high priority heroes such as Terminus and Blunderbuss, but after those two heroes, you've really got a fairly open field as to who would be your next or your second tier hero. So I'd probably put Montana in that second tier bracket alongside heroes like Mirage, who does awesome charge control. You've got Tamika from the Zombies Avenge, Booster, Quilla, even a hero like Perla is probably in that second class or that second tier of support class heroes. If I was to start putting emblems on her, I would definitely be following an attack path because she is primarily, above all other things, a sniper. So this means that I'm going to prioritize the attack nodes first, followed by defense nodes, and then HP nodes as sort of a last resort. So doing that, I come up with this hero path, or emblem path rather. So we can see that following that, we'll go right and left, right, left to pick up a defense node with the choice between defense and HP. Come back right for the remaining 3 branches. So if we do that, we pick up 6 attack nodes, 5 defense nodes, and only 2 HP nodes. But we also grab a crit node at +10, and then finally the speed node at +20. So overall, this does give us a fairly sizable, it's pretty balanced improvement to her stats. So we come out with +95 attack, +75 defense, and +77 HP, which rounds her out to a total base stats of, or +20 stats rather, of 790 attack, 731 defense, and 1465 HP. So it is a fairly balanced improvement to all of her stats if we follow that path, but it does emphasize above all things her attack stat, which as a sniper is what you really want to do. So if we start, well, we take all of that background info and we can start actually feeding it into what Montana actually does. So if we look at what her special skill is, her special skill is titled Cracking Whiplash, and at charge speed of 58, which is fast, it will deal 345% damage to the target, steal all dodge buffs from the target, and then render the target unaffected by dodge bonuses for 3 turns. So if we break that down, there's really 2 aspects to this. You've got the direct damage, and then you've got dodge stuff at the end there. So in terms of the direct damage, it's not fantastic. It's pretty middle of the tier, really. So just like her stats are fairly middling, it's actually fairly average for a green sniping hero. So if we compare her to some of the other green snipers that we have available in the game at the moment, there are a couple of other ones available, both vanilla and event style ones. And we can compare them by calculating out their attack power, which is, simply put, it's their attack stat multiplied by the stated % on their special skills. So if we do that, we get this following list that you can see here. So looking at that list, we can see Montana's coming in at the number 4 ranking with 2,397 attack power, which is, as I said, it's right in the middle of our list there. However, you can see that there is quite a big step change between the bottom half of that list and the top half of that list. So you've got, at the top there, you've got Emma, who is dealing an absolutely insane amount of damage output. Like, she does 6 strikes, each of them about 1,007 attack power each. So that gives her a total of 6,042 attacking power. So she is insane. I have added her there, and she may seem an odd inclusion, but because of the way her skill is set up, she can technically land all 6 shots on one target, thus making her a single hitting sniper. But overall, she is what I class as a multi-hitter rather than an AoE hitter. So I have listed her amongst snipers because that's probably the best approximation for her. If we go back to directly just single hitting targets, you've also got heroes like Minamoto striking armor and Von Hagen as well, who are quite a step above Montana in that list. You've also got Adid, who's down the bottom there, not giving much competition, but Minamoto and Tamika also in there giving a little bit more competition there. So, yeah, so looking at that list, you can see Emma is absolutely insane compared to these other snipers. She is pretty much one of the biggest damage dealers, but then it makes it even worse when you compare her to Adid, who's the other green hitter available in the vanilla stuff. So anyway, you're familiar with most of these heroes, and you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, but Emma and Von Hagen, they're like super slow heroes, so they should be more powerful, which is completely true. Slow speed heroes should be more damaging than fast speed counterparts, just in order to compensate for that difference in the speed. So how we can normalize this a bit more is we can normalize it by dividing that attacking power by the number of tiles required to charge them. So we change it from being a per instance attack power to a per tile based attack power. So if we do that, we come up with this slightly revised list. So we still have Emma all the way up the top there, kicking out 549 attack power per tile. Minamoto is also still at the top there, but where there's a little bit of shifting is where base damage Minamoto and Von Hagen go. So you can see Von Hagen's dropped down a little bit thanks to his very, very slow speed. And Minamoto has jumped up because he's actually an 8 tiles to charge fast sniper. Montana has maintained that number 4 spot, but the difference has reduced a fair bit between her and the ones around her. So she is fairly average in terms of her sniping ability. She's not bad, but she's not amazing as a sniper either. If we then move on to the second component of her ability, which is the ability to start messing around with the target's ability or dodge capability. So this is where I get a little bit more confused and a bit more skeptical about Montana. So if we start looking at what the two things it does is, so first of all, it's going to steal any dodge buff that's active, which is great, but there aren't too many heroes that actually create dodge buffs. The main ones are, you've got Talon, who is a purple 5-star hero from the Mercenary event, and you've got Throttle, who's a 4-star vanilla green healer. So those two are the only heroes that will give a dodge buff to all their allies. No one else will do it. So you've only got 2 heroes there. The second thing that the skill does is it prevents the target from dodging for the next 3 turns, or getting any dodge effects for the next 3 turns. Which, again, it's great, but this really only applies to heroes who have got a dodge gun equipped to them. And yeah, you know, like if you're going to be hitting someone who's got a dodge buff, you've already stolen that. So there's not much point to it in that regard. So don't get me wrong, both of these abilities, they can be amazing. Dodge is probably the most annoying perk you can give your defense team on the battlefield. So being able to combat that and negate it is simply amazing. It can turn a battle around by preventing an enemy from dodging a strong set of tiles that are about to hit them. My concern comes that by having both of these effects, you're actually encouraged to target an enemy who has dodge of some kind, which is, you're probably thinking, duh, otherwise there'd be no point. And that's great, but it's great if it comes off. But the catch is that you have to actually hit the enemy in order to gain these benefits. So what it can do with having both of these effects in there, it can lead you to put too much focus on her being a dodge killer, which may then lead you to targeting or over-targeting someone who has too many dodge effects, someone that's got both a dodge gun and a dodge buff in play. And then the issue with all of that is that if a hero dodges, you get nothing. Absolutely nothing. You get no damage, no dodge negation, no dodge buff stealing, you get nothing. And with a sniper, that's just a complete waste of charging her special skill. So the concern is that by having both of the effects there, you're actually being encouraged to overcommit to her being a dodge killer. Now, you can combat this a lot. You can actually overcome it completely by using weapons that have got the accuracy perk. And I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to be using Montana, equip her with an accuracy perk gun. It is the best thing for her. And then same thing with other heroes that do this dodge negation, like Quattro and Kraken and such. Give them an accuracy perk gun, because the accuracy perk directly combats an enemy's dodge weapon perk, or dodge of any kind. So there's a couple weapons in green that can do this. You've got the 4-star green master weapon gun, which is the Bronco Snakebite. That one gives plus 16% accuracy. You've also got a 5-star green master weapon gun, which is the GP418 GLM. That one gives you plus 18% accuracy. And finally, you've got a previous weapon of the month, which is the Trailblazer SVK, which gives plus 16% accuracy. So if we start looking at those 3 guns specifically, you can see plus 16, plus 18, plus 16%. So if you compare that to all of the dodge weapons that are available, those guns will negate any dodge weapon that's been equipped, with the exception of the ZC Bulldozer, which is the purple vanilla dodge gun. That one's got a plus 18% dodge. But every other one, they only give you plus 16% dodge. So that's awesome news for Montana, because it means that if you equip an accuracy weapon, you eliminate the concern entirely. You overcome that dodge weapon, you're going to always hit them, they can't dodge, no problems, right? Mostly. The issue remains if you've got compounded dodge. So what I mean by that is when you've got a hero that's got a dodge weapon equipped and they've got a dodge buff. So you might choose to go after that hero because you're like, oh, my Montana's going to cripple them, it's going to wipe out both of those things. And the issue is that if you're facing someone that's got the dodge weapon, say Terminus, who's got a Ragnarok Vantage attack equipped, which is plus 16% dodge, and then you've also got the enemy Talon, who's given a plus 16% dodge. You can see where I'm going with this. You've got plus 16 and 16%. It gives you plus 32% dodge, which is better than your plus 16 or plus 18% accuracy. So the threat still is there if you try to overcommit on this whole dodge killing thing with Montana. So again, I think this whole ability can be super amazing if you take the time to think about it and don't overcommit. So I completely and 100% recommend to always equip an accuracy weapon to Montana, and only to try to go after one of the 2 effects. Don't try to go for doing both dodge negation and dodge stealing, because in that situation, you're probably going to be overcommitting, and if they then do dodge, you get nothing. So instead, go for either stealing their dodge buff on a hero who doesn't have a dodge gun, or go for the dodge negation. Don't try to do both of them, because you will probably just get frustrated. So that advice goes for all dodge negation heroes. So those are like Quattros and Krakens and that kind of thing. Always just give an accuracy weapon, and then just be cautious about what you're taking on with those heroes. Alright, rant mostly over. That did get a little bit heavy for a bit in there. If we move on from looking at Montana in a vacuum and start trying to look at her in comparison to some of the other heroes that we've got available in the game, because we often get asked that question, is Montana worth leveling? And the answer is always, compared to who? So if we start looking at some of the other heroes that we've got available in green that are primarily damage dealers or snipers, we can see, well, the main 2 that I'm going to be looking at is Emma and Minamoto. So Emma we'll start off with, because Emma is a 5-star green multi-hitting spy class vanilla hero. So if we look at their stats and compare their 2 sets of stats, Emma is overall inferior to Montana, simply because of that 3% stat buff that got given in October earlier this year. Overall though, the stats are actually still fairly comparable. They've got a similar sort of distribution to each other. So if we then look at their 2 classes, I really love the spy class. Any chance that has any perk that has the chance to cut charge from an enemy is just top tier. So with Emma, she's a multi-hitter, so every time her special skill fires, she gets 6 chances to cut the target's charge. Plus then any tile that's attributed to plus any tile that is attributed to Emma also has that chance to cut charge. Too many in there. Montana, on the other hand, she is a member of the support class, which is still, it's a great effect, but it's much more situational. It's only getting a chance to proc every time that the enemy or Montana is getting a status ailment, which is much less often than sending special skill tiles or whatever from Emma. The speed definitely goes the way of Montana. However, if we refer back to the graphic earlier, the speed is fairly meh, doesn't make a difference, because Emma's damage output is just completely vastly superior. So even if we split it down onto a per tile basis, Emma's kicking out 550 attack power per tile compared to Montana's 265. So it's effectively double. It's more than double. And that's a massive difference. Where they definitely do differ is that Montana has these 2 dodge impacting effects at the end, whereas Emma has that self-defense boost. So even though, even if you're only really getting one of those dodge effects in a cast, so refer back to that previous section if you skipped over my rant. It is overall, I would say that Emma is definitely a preferred hero to level before Montana. The sheer amount of damage that Emma kicks out is just insane. And yeah, even though you're not getting those dodge effects, which are great, I will definitely recommend Emma first, just because of that damage. Especially when you then go and pair it with an attack buffing hero like Blunderbuss, it gets completely insane after that. So yeah. If we move on to the second comparison, which is to Minamoto. Now, Minamoto is a hero that currently cannot be summoned anymore. He was a previous Hero of the Month. So the advice here is probably less applicable to everyone, but the principles that I'm going to look at will still apply to your other comparisons you might make in your roster. So looking at Minamoto's stats, they are fairly... Well, they're both Heroes of the Month, so they're both on semi-equal playing fields in terms of their net stats. Minamoto is definitely much more heavily weighted towards his attack stat, but it is at a sacrifice to his defense and HP stats, if we compare them to Montana there. The classes are Assault versus Support, which does probably swing in favor of Montana. The Assault class can be good, but it's only really in a situation where you're dealing stupid high amounts of tile damage out. And even then, it's still probably going to be comparable to a Master Weapon Bleed Gun or Poison Gun or whatever. So yeah, on a per tile basis, Minamoto is doing more damage than Montana, but Montana does kick out more damage per instance when she's not targeting an armored enemy. The final aspect of both of their special skills, Minamoto has an additional charge boost that he will gain if the enemy has armor. So that's plus 38% charge for 3 turns, which is actually really big. It is the biggest charge increase available in the game, but it is limited to being only when the targeted enemy has armor. So like Montana is sort of designed to be an anti-dodge hero, Minamoto is really geared towards being an anti-armor hero. So overall, if we looked at the two of them, I would probably rather an anti-dodge hero, as I find this to be much more prevalent in wars and raiding and much more impactful than armor is. Plus, it's a lot more annoying than having a little bit of extra health, the dodge perk that is. So in this instance, despite being faster and having more damage per tile, I would probably recommend going with Montana over Minamoto. Now, there are a lot of other heroes, or there are a number of other heroes available to you in green. I would probably do Montana ahead of most of those green heroes that you've currently got available. The exceptions are ones that are like Emma and Mortis and Hairware and Vincent, and that's probably the list of them. So I would probably go with Montana ahead of anyone except for those 4 heroes. So yeah, unfortunately, Adid is still a long way. Off the pace in terms of being a damage dealer. So if we took all that information from all that previous stuff in Montana's review and we started breaking it from being individual aspects and started applying it to the different areas of the gameplay, so we can do that by having a look at the different aspects of the gameplay. So if we look at defense to start us off with, in defense I would say Montana is an okay hero. There's not anything that I would make her a must-have. There are definitely better defensive green heroes available. The likes of Mortis, Hairware, or Vincent, for example. In the defense team, her primary attribute is going to be as a damage dealer, which we know from earlier on is very middling. There's not anything stand out about her damage. The dodge effects are probably going to pay little to no impact on her as a defender because the AI really sucks at targeting and is likely to muff the whole thing up and target someone without dodge or target someone with 2 dodges. So really, she'll work, but not amazingly. If we flip that coin over and we have a look at her in the attacking side of things, so raiding and war attacks, I definitely think this is where she's going to be most usable and a best spot to use her. This is a situation when you've got complete control over her ability, who you target, you can equip the accuracy guns and all that kind of thing, and you can go after those problematic enemies like Terminus when he's got that Ragnarok Vantage gun equipped to him. As a damage dealer, there are still better options, but she will serve quite well as a supporting hero to another big damage dealer. So like I said, you can use her to target someone with a dodge gun, and line them up to whack them with an even harder hitting hero, like Vincent, for example. Basically stopping them from being able to dodge that secondary blow and wiping them out of the match entirely. I wouldn't recommend using her as your primary hitter in a team, but she will work well as a supporting hitter for your team. If we look at War Machines next, overall I'd say she's fairly average here, maybe a little bit above average. She's got a decent attack stat. The dodge is going to be completely useless on War Machines, those dodge effects that is, because no War Machine kicks out dodge of any kind. So from before, her direct damage isn't amazing, but as I said, her attack stat is in the top 30%, so a little bit above average on that side of things. In the event sphere, I rank Montana the same as I rank any other sniper, which is quite poor for event competitions. Competition stuff, you're looking for heroes that can hit multiple enemies with the one cast, rather than someone that just goes after one enemy. The dodge side of her skill is very, very limited. There's only really 2 heroes that are going to be kicking out dodge in events, which is Talon in a Purple Merc event and Scarlet in some of the zombie events. So not routinely going to be useful there. So again, workable for a damage, but there are definitely much better options for event competition. In the other PvE aspects of the game, dodge is still very limited. There's not really any enemies that create dodge, so there's not going to be a huge amount of usefulness for that side of the skill. On the damage side of things, again, she's not bad, but there are definitely better options for damage dealing, so nothing that really makes her stand out in attack on PvE other stuff. If we flip over and have a look at the tournaments, there are the 3 tournament formats. So if we start off with the Bloody Battle Sphere, so this, she's not bad for here. Again, she's mainly doing damage and probably a little bit of the dodge stuff. But again, there's not really anything that markedly improves her from normal rating. So it's really about the same as normal rating. On the buff booster side of things, I'd probably drop her off a little bit from this because she doesn't really create anything that adds to the whole buff boosting mentality. She doesn't create any buffs, and her damage isn't so out there that she's really benefiting from getting lots of buffs to boost her attack stats. So probably a little bit off her normal attacking side of things there, but again, not bad. If we look at the charged attack setting, this is where she does drop off a little bit because she's already got a fairly high charge speed of 58. She doesn't gain a massive amount by going up to 65 charge speed, especially when you compare her to some of the other heroes that are available in green, like Mortis or Von Hagen, or, sorry, not Mortis, Hairware, Von Hagen, or even Emma. Those heroes gain a lot more benefit out of going from their normal slow speed up to fast, and hence their damage output becomes much, much more than it already is. It's already quite insane. Defense in the tournaments, there's not really anything that makes her stand out. Maybe alright in Bloody Battle, but on the other side of things, yeah, probably leave her off the defense teams in those other spheres. So if we took all that information and we started to apply some rough grading to it, so I'm using a grading scale of A through F, where A is the absolute best it could be, and F is the absolute worst it could be, with a grade of C being somewhere in the middle. So if we took that scale and we looked at those different areas again, so in general for attack, I would give her a B for war attacks and stuff, B- for war machines, because again, you're mainly looking at that attack stat. Events, a C-, that's fairly consistent for most snipers, and C grade for all the other aspects of PvE. In tournament offense, we're looking at a B for Bloody Battle, B- for charged attack, and a C+ for buff booster, so a bit of a drop off in those other 2 formats. Defense, I would give her a C+ overall with a B- in a Bloody Battle sphere. Gave her a little bit of an increase there because she is still a damage dealer, and damage dealers are fairly good for Bloody Battles. C for buff booster tournaments, and C- for charged attack tournaments. So overall, that gets her a grade of B- in attack and C+ in defense. So as I was saying from the start, she's not an amazing hero, but she's not a bad hero either. She's a little bit above average in all those aspects. So please note that these are just my thoughts. It's my 2 cents. It's not gospel or anything. All of these grades and this opinion really changes based on your own roster and your own play styles. So it's just my 2 cents. So that pretty well finishes up the review of Montana. So overall, I'd say she's a fairly average hitter for green. She's definitely not a tier 1 hero, but she's also definitely worth leveling ahead of most other options. I would 100% recommend equipping her with an accuracy weapon whenever you use her. And definitely be careful not to overreach with regards to targeting and trying to negate buff dodges. So you don't want to be targeting a hero who has both a dodge buff and a dodge weapon, because then you run the risk of getting nothing. As always with these videos, I am definitely keen to hear your thoughts. I've used definitely a lot in that last minute or so. So if you agree or disagree, please do hit the comment section. Similarly, if there's any applications or synergies you can see with this hero and other heroes that I've really missed or overlooked, definitely hit the comment section of this video. I've done it again. I use that word a lot. And then again, if you haven't already done so and are enjoying the video, please do hit that like and the subscribe buttons as well. So with the review of Montana being complete, that really brings us to the second part of this review video, which is of the November 2021 Weapon of the Month, which is the Speedster GLM. So we can see that the Speedster GLM is a racer variant combo weapon. Whatever that means, probably a combination of different weapons, but it's a 5-star red weapon, which gives a stat improvement of plus 223 attack and plus 226 defense. The 2 perks that you gain by equipping the Speedster GLM is you gain plus 16% accuracy and plus 20% armor piercing. So unfortunately, the Speedster GLM is a little bit misnamed because it doesn't give the owner any speed increase, so it's kind of the speedless GLM more than anything. As we discussed, if we look at those 2 perks earlier in this video, the accuracy perk is a very handy one to have. Not only does it combat your regular accuracy ailments that you may receive, but it also directly combats against the dodge perks and dodge buffs, which is absolutely awesome. At plus 16%, it's able to negate pretty much every dodge weapon and dodge buff you may come up against. The only exception at the moment is the Bulldozer, which is the purple weapon, which gives plus 18% dodge. So this means that if you do equip the Speedster to a sniper, you'll pretty much never have to worry about that sniper having that super annoying situation where you targeted them and they should have died, but they didn't die because they popped up with a dodge on a 16% every single time. It also means that any tiles that get attributed to the Speedster GLM will not be dodged either. They can be dodged if they're attributed to other heroes of the same color, but any tiles equipped to or attributed to the Speedster GLM will always hit those enemies, which is, again, really awesome. The armor piercing perk, however, is a little less amazing. It's not completely useless, but it's not what I would consider to be one of the best perks to be getting out of a weapon. Essentially, what this perk means is that a percentage of the damage that would normally have been soaked up by armor goes to the hero underneath the armor instead. So, for example, if you're targeting an enemy who's got 200 armor, and your strike is worth 100 damage, normally all 100 of that damage would go against the armor. So it would go from 200 armor down to 100 armor. However, with the 20% armor piercing perk, what this means is that of the 100 damage that you're dealing, only 80 of it will go against the armor, and the remaining 20 will go against their HP. So it's not an amazing perk, as you're still doing the bulk of the damage against the armor. However, it can be pretty good if you're targeting an enemy who's only got a small amount of HP left, but they have generated quite a sizable amount of armor protection. So in this situation, there is the chance that you can pierce the armor with sufficient damage to kill them off without having to go through all of their armor entirely. So overall, I'd probably put the Speedster GLM as a sort of second priority weapon. It's not top priority, because that would be guns like the Chekhov SVK, the Firewing Trig, or even the Igni Flashpoint. They would be what I'd consider the top priority, but the Speedster GLM is probably on the second tier down from that, being equivalent with weapons like the Levy 303 or the VSS Vantage. It'd definitely be ahead of the other red guns like the Dragster Kato or even the poor vanilla Tank Bang weapon. So that's pretty much it, all I've got for the Speedster GLM. Fairly short and sweet for this weapon of the month. It's not bad, not great, pretty much in the middle, similar to Montana overall. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As always with these videos, I am really keen to hear your thoughts on the hero of the month and the weapon of the month. So either jump down into the comments of the video, write your thoughts out there. Love to hear from you guys. Or you can jump into the Discord server that I run. There will be an invite link once again in the description of this video. So final time, if you haven't already done so and you did find this video to be useful and helpful, swing it a like, and if you're feeling especially generous, give my channel a subscribe as well, and then feel free to share it around to all of your mates and ally mates as well. But that's all I've really got for this video. I will catch you guys all in the next one, but until then, stay safe and happy gaming. Bye.